Spain's empire wasn't just rich, it was drowning in silver. And one man from Devon made it his mission to steal it. Welcome back everyone to Hidden History Stories. In today's episode we're uncovering how Francis Drake, a blacksmith's son turned pirate, took the fight to Spain, raided their treasure fleets, circled the globe, and forced the most powerful empire on Earth to live in fear of the dragon. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share it with anyone who loves exploring the past. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now, let's begin. A single Spanish galleon carries enough silver to buy an entire English county. A Devon blacksmith's son decides he's going to steal it all. This is the true story of how Francis Drake turned the Caribbean into his personal hunting ground and brought the Spanish Empire to its knees. The year is 1568, and young Francis Drake is watching his world burn. He's standing on the deck of a small English ship in a Mexican harbor, and Spanish cannons are tearing his cousin's fleet to pieces. The Jesus of L'Encourtebec, Queen Elizabeth's own ship, is sinking in flames. English sailors are screaming as Spanish soldiers cut them down. But here's the thing that makes this betrayal even worse. The Spanish had promised safe passage. They'd shaken hands on it. They'd even shared wine the night before. Now they were slaughtering everyone in sight. Drake has a choice. Stay and die with his shipmates, or cut the ropes and run. He chooses to run. As his ship limps away from that blood-soaked harbor, he makes a promise that will echo across 2 continents. He's going to make Spain pay for this. Every last piece of silver. This betrayal becomes the burning obsession that shapes everything Drake does next. 4 years later, Drake returns to fulfill that vow. Picture this. He's got exactly 73 men and 2 tiny ships. His target? Nombre de Dios, the most heavily fortified treasure depot in the Spanish Empire. Everyone thinks he's lost his mind. And honestly, they might be right. But Drake has been studying Spanish routines like a hunter tracking prey. He knows that during the rainy season, when the treasure trains arrive from Panama, the Spanish guards get lazy. They drink more. They post fewer sentries. That's when he strikes. July 28th, 1572. 3 in the morning. The Spanish garrison at Nombre de Dios is fast asleep when Drake's men come pouring through the streets like ghosts. Trumpets blast in the darkness. War cries echo off stone buildings. Spanish soldiers stumble out of their beds, half-dressed and completely terrified. Some don't even grab their weapons before running, and then Drake kicks open the doors to the treasure house. Here's where it gets insane. There's so much silver piled up in this building that it doesn't even have a lock. Mountains of silver bars stacked like firewood. More wealth than most kings will see in their lifetime. But just as Drake is about to claim his prize, a Spanish musket ball tears through his leg. Blood is pouring everywhere. His men are begging him to retreat. Picture the agony of that moment. The greatest treasure in the Americas is sitting right there, and Drake has to walk away from it because he's bleeding to death. But here's what the Spanish don't realize yet. Drake has just proven something that will haunt them for the next 20 years. Their treasure cities aren't untouchable anymore. The vow he made in Mexico is just beginning to unfold. While Drake recovers from his wound, he's about to make the most unexpected alliance in colonial history. Meet the Cimarrones, escaped African slaves who fled into the Panamanian jungle and built their own free kingdom. Their leader, Pedro, knows every trail across the isthmus and hates the Spanish with a burning passion. The boy from Devon who swore revenge in a Mexican harbor is about to join forces with escaped slaves to wage guerrilla warfare against the Spanish Empire. It's unprecedented. It's brilliant. And it's about to turn the Caribbean upside down. These jungle warriors teach Drake's men how to vanish into the forest like smoke. They know exactly when the treasure trains leave Panama City. They know which routes the Spanish use, which guards can be bribed, and which officials are corrupt. But the best part? They're absolutely fearless. February 1573, Drake and Pedro are about to pull off the greatest robbery in history. A massive treasure train is winding through the jungle, 30 mules loaded with silver bars from the mines of Potosí. Spanish guards are riding alongside, but they're not expecting trouble. After all, who would be crazy enough to attack deep in the jungle? That's when Drake's combined force strikes. English guns and Cimarron war cries explode from the tree line. Spanish guards are diving for cover as silver bars scatter across the forest floor. Some mules bolt into the jungle, their loads of treasure disappearing into the green darkness. When the smoke clears, Drake is staring at contemporary estimates of 30 tons of pure silver. 30 tons. But here's the cruel irony, it's too heavy to carry back to his ships. So what does he do? He buries most of the Spanish silver in the same jungle he stole it from. The greatest treasure heist in history, and Drake has to leave most of it behind. The psychological damage to Spain, though? That's priceless. Each successful raid brings Drake closer to the complete revenge he promised in Mexico. By 1577, Drake has become the most wanted man in the Spanish Empire. King Philip II has put a bounty on his head that could buy a fleet of warships. But Queen Elizabeth has an even crazier idea. She wants Drake to sail around the entire world, not just to explore, to hit Spanish colonies on the Pacific coast, where no English ship has ever sailed before. Think about this for a moment. The Pacific Ocean is Spain's private lake. Spanish treasure ships sail those waters without escorts because they believe no enemy can possibly reach them. Drake is about to prove them wrong. But this isn't just another raid. This is the ultimate fulfillment of the promise he made in that Mexican harbor years ago. December 13th, 1577. Drake leaves Plymouth with 5 ships and 164 men. Most of his crew thinks they're heading to the Mediterranean. When Drake finally reveals their true destination, around the bottom of South America and into the Pacific, some of his officers try to mutiny. The crisis comes to a head at Port San Julian, the same desolate harbor where Magellan faced rebellion 50 years earlier. Drake's solution is brutal but effective. He executes the lead mutineer, Thomas Doughty, in front of the entire crew. The message is crystal clear. There's no turning back now, but the worst is still to come. The Strait of Magellan nearly kills them all. Picture this, violent storms that can flip a ship like a toy, winds that drive vessels toward jagged rocks at terrifying speed, waves so massive they block out the sky. One by one, Drake's ships are battered into submission or disappear entirely. By the time he reaches the Pacific, only his flagship, the Golden Hind, remains. Drake has just become the first English captain to enter the Pacific Ocean. He's also completely alone, thousands of miles from any friendly port, sailing into waters controlled by the most powerful empire on Earth. Most men would turn back. Drake sails north toward Peru. What happens next terrifies Spanish colonists from Chile to Mexico. Drake hits the Pacific coast like a hurricane. At Valparaiso, he captures a ship loaded with Chilean gold. At Callao, Peru's main port, he cuts the anchor cables of every vessel in the harbor, sending them drifting helplessly out to sea. Spanish officials are panicking. How did an English ship get into the Pacific? Where will it strike next? But Drake's greatest prize is still ahead. Meanwhile, far out at sea, a massive Spanish galleon is sailing north from Lima, her holds bursting with treasure. Meet the Nuestra Señora, plus or minus Hora de la Concepción, the richest treasure ship in Spanish America. Spanish sailors call her Cacafuego, the Spitfire, because she's so heavily armed. But all those cannons make her slow and clumsy. When Drake's sleek Golden Hind overtakes her off the coast of Ecuador, the Spanish captain can't believe his eyes. An English ship? In the Pacific? It's impossible. But here's what makes it even more incredible. When Drake's men board the treasure galleon, they find 13 chests of pieces of 80 pounds of gold, contemporary estimates of 26 tons of silver bars, and jewels beyond counting. It's the richest prize any English captain has ever taken. Ever. The promise made in Mexico is finally complete. But now Drake faces a terrifying problem. The entire Spanish Pacific fleet is hunting him, and he's trapped on the wrong side of the world. Instead of attempting the deadly return journey through the Strait of Magellan, Drake makes a decision that will either kill his entire crew or make them immortal. He's going to sail across the Pacific Ocean, something no English ship has ever attempted. Picture this: 68 days of nothing but endless ocean. No land in sight. No way to know if they're heading towards safety or sailing off the edge of the world. His men are surviving on rainwater collected during tropical storms and whatever food they can catch from the sea. Some are beginning to whisper about mutiny. Others are praying to whatever gods will listen. And then, on the horizon, they spot land. September 26th, 1580, Plymouth Harbour. After nearly 3 years, the Golden Hind is finally home. Word spreads through the town like wildfire. Drake is back, and his ship is loaded with Spanish treasure. But here's what makes this homecoming truly historic. Drake hasn't just robbed the Spanish Empire blind, he circumnavigated the entire globe, becoming only the second expedition in history to accomplish this feat. The treasure he brings home is staggering. Contemporary estimates put it at over £600,000, roughly half of England's entire annual royal revenue. Queen Elizabeth's personal share is enough to pay off all the Crown's foreign debts. When the Queen knights Drake aboard his ship at Deptford, she's sending a message that echoes across Europe. England will no longer accept Spain's monopoly over the wealth of the New World. But here's the truly shocking part of this story. Drake's raids didn't just steal Spanish gold, they shattered Spanish confidence. For decades, Spain had believed their American empire was untouchable. Drake proved that a handful of determined English sailors could strike anywhere, anytime. This psychological victory was worth more than all the treasure combined. Spanish colonists now lived in constant fear. When would El Drac, the dragon, strike next? Their secure world of guaranteed profits and unchallenged dominance was over. And when King Philip II finally launched the Spanish Armada in 1588 to crush England once and for all, many of the English commanders who defeated it had learned their trade in Caribbean waters, following the tactics Drake had perfected against Spanish treasure fleets. The boy from Devon who swore revenge in a Mexican harbor had lived to see that oath fulfilled beyond his wildest dreams. He'd transformed England from a marginal European power into a global maritime force that would eventually rule the waves. Spain's age of dominance was ending. England's was just beginning. The vow made in Mexico had ended with Spain's empire shaken to its very foundations. That was the end of the story of Francis Drake, the blacksmith's son who rose to become the Dragon, raiding Spain's treasure fleets and changing the course of empires. If you enjoyed this journey into hidden history, remember to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another story from the past. And let me know in the comments, what is your favorite historical era?